Sara Banta didn't set out to become a wellness trailblazer, but somewhere between raising three children and navigating her own health struggles, a calling found her. A Stanford graduate in economics and psychology, turned certified supplement expert and integrative health coach, she founded Accelerated Health Products, a brand recognized as the most innovative supplements company for consecutive years. Through her critically acclaimed Accelerated Health Radio and TV, regularly ranked among the top 10 health podcasts, Sara shares cutting-edge conversations with leading minds in natural health, supplementation, and longevity. But her impact goes far deeper than numbers and instead focuses on transformations. From detox protocols to unconventional healing tools, she challenges conventional wellness thinking and invites you to rethink what's possible for your body and your life. Her journey is part scientist, part compassionate guide, and entirely woven with stories of resilience, discovery, and profound personal shifts. Prepare to meet someone who'll invite you not just to upgrade your health, but to reframe it in ways you never expected. And before we start the episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth and the Deep Wealth Mastery Program. Here's Sanjay, a graduate of Deep Wealth Mastery, and he says, the investment I made in the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it's a rounding error compared to the value created today and the future value I'll receive. Or how about William, who says, and I love this, a company that's attractive to sell is also a great one to own. The Deep Wealth Mastery Program gives me the best of both worlds. Now, speaking of growth and adding value, check out what Leon says. He says that the Deep Wealth Mastery Program changed how and who we hire. We've now begun to hire talent today that we never would have hired if it weren't for the program. The talent we're hiring today is helping both increase our growth and profits and our future enterprise value. Man, I love that kind of feedback because it's that kind of feedback that's what gets me out of bed every day. Deep Wealth Mastery System, it's the only system based on a 9-figure deal. That was my deal. And as you know, I said no to a 7-figure offer, created a system that we now call Deep Wealth Mastery. And that's what helped myself and my business partners welcome from a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure deal. So if you're interested in growing your profits, preparing for a future liquidity event, whether that's 2 years away or 22 years away, and if you want to optimize your post-exit life, Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. Please email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS, at deepwealth.com. We'll send you all the information about Deep Wealth Mastery, otherwise known as the Scale for Ultimate Sales System. That's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you who are looking to create market disruptions. Whether you're a startup, whether you've been in business for 3 or 4 decades, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're high-tech, SaaS, low-tech, whatever the case may be, come in and network with other business owners, with other businesses just like you, because they all want to lock in their financial freedom and enjoy both success and fulfillment. Again, that's a 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program. It has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Please send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Deep Wealth Nation, welcome to another episode of the Deep Wealth Podcast. I am really excited for the very special guest that we have in the House of Deep Wealth, not only a fellow entrepreneur, a fellow podcast host, a fellow thought leader, but also someone who can take your health, your business health KPIs to the next level. So Deep Wealth Nation, let me ask you a question. How are you feeling? And be honest with me. Don't give me the, oh, I'm great, Jeffrey, everything's fine. Give me the real answer. Are you feeling tired when you wake up? Are you lethargic? Do you have brain fog? Do you have maybe some aches and pains? Have you lost that bounce in your step? If you're like most entrepreneurs in the Deep Wealth community, sadly, that answer is, well, yeah, guess what? Great news coming out of today's session. You're going to learn what you can do about it today in some incredibly practical insights from the trenches. So that said, Sara, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. An absolute pleasure to have you with us. There's always a story behind the story. You have an incredible story. What is your story, Sara? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Thanks for having me, Jeffrey. I'm super excited to be here because I don't get to talk about this angle of what I'm doing very often. I want to start by telling you that I come from a well-off family. So money was not an issue growing up. I never had a feeling of scarcity. I pretty much had what I wanted. Now, that can go in either direction. It can make someone very lazy and no motivation, or it can make someone like me say, hey, wait a second, I can do it on my own, away from what I came from. But with that said, when you have all the money in the world, all the success in the world, but you don't feel good, nothing matters. Because as you say, your health is your biggest wealth. And my well-off father has neuropathy and he's got all the money in the world, but what do you think he would pay for some new legs right now? And to be able to get back on that golf course, which he had to hang up, and he's on the verge in a year or two will be in a wheelchair. All the money in the world does nothing for that. So when you're talking about success in business, it starts with how are you sleeping? How are you eating? What's your energy at 3 p.m.? What's your stress level? What's that cortisol doing to your hormones? How's it affecting your relationship with your spouse and your kids and all the people in your life? Because as I tell my three children, you've got this puzzle piece and these categories of what categories you're successful in, and to have balance between family and business and health and all these things. When one falls down, all the others suffer. With that being said, my story, I was a national athlete in rowing in high school. I was second in the nation, first in the state for rowing. And I went off to Stanford. I studied economics and psychology. And you would think on top of the world. I was on the dean's list at Stanford. I studied hard. But I knew I wasn't feeling as good as everybody around me. And then I get into my 20s, I get married, I get pregnant. And for all of you women out there, those pregnancies just steal every nutrient out of your body. And I just became a shell of myself. I had PCOS, my hair was falling out, Crohn's disease, heavy metal toxicity. My teenage acne, even though I wasn't a teenager anymore, stayed with me. And now I was getting wrinkles too. No fun. So I went to the GI doctors. They put tubes down me, up me, around me. And they said, oh, just take some Metamucil. You have IBS. And I said, you don't think I've tried that already? So then I went to a natural practitioner who's now a mentor and helps formulate a lot of my supplements. And he scanned my body with a SCIO machine that is scalar technology. It scans your body for 10,000 items. And he sat there and he said, Sara, I don't know how you walked into this office. He goes, you have nothing in you. You're no energy. Your digestion has halted. Your food is rotting in your stomach. And he goes, it's out of pure will. Thank goodness you're a type A personality, which most of your listeners, Jeffrey, are probably type A personalities. And so we started peeling my health like an onion. And as you start taking off the bigger issues and other things surface, and we were getting me back. And as I was going through my own process, my 9-year-old son, who is my oldest, he was having headaches. He went from being the kid that needed to do 2 athletic sports a day just to keep him sane to complaining about doing a 20-minute swim lesson. He had no energy. I was working in the classrooms of all of my kids every week, and I saw this kid who was at the top of his class then sit there with his hands on his forehead, not being able to move his pencil, and thought that something's going on. So we scanned him. And my practitioner said, I want you to go do a live blood cell test. He didn't tell me what he saw in the scan. And so we did the live blood cell, and that lady was a little more forthcoming and extremely blunt. She said, your son has leukemia, and you better do something about this now, or we're going to have a more serious conversation. And my son is sitting there next to me. He sees my tears just coming down my face. Now, mind you, no money in the world is going to help me at this moment. This is as real as it gets. And he looks at me and he says, Mom, I don't know why you're crying. You're going to fix me. And I said, you're right. I'm not going to stop. And we did not choose to go the traditional route. We started with my flagship product, Accelerated Silver, which is not just a colloidal silver, it's nanoparticle and colloidal mixed, but then it's enhanced with scalar frequencies, which can take the healing to a whole nother level. And I didn't know much about diet back then. I raised this kid on microwavable hot dogs. So if you think you're diet's bad and you can't get it back, if I can, then anybody can. Because I was microwaving his breast milk. I was doing all the wrong things because I didn't know any better. That kid, within a year, was back to doing two sports a day. And his teacher said, Sarah, I don't know what happened. We're not even looking at his performance in school for those couple of months, but your son's back. And I thought, great. I think he's feeling better, but I didn't feel great until we got the live blood cell test again. And we saw that not only were the cancer cells gone, but the blood cells were plump and dark and nutritionally sufficient and healthy. And the blunt lady said, Sarah, I've never seen such healthy blood. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And my son looks at me and goes, Mom, I knew you'd do it. Now, fast forward to this boy being 15. All three of my kids got into rowing like their mom, and they did much better than I did. They're very successful. My 15-year-old boy at the time was at the national level. They broke a record in Florida. And with that, he did it in a very compromised health condition. At this point, it was his heart. His heart was stopping. I remember walking into his room or hearing at 2 a.m. him pounding on the bathroom wall. And I run in there and he's pounding on his heart because his heart had stopped. And I couldn't do anything. And that 30 seconds where he was pounding on his heart felt like days for me as I'm watching. And it starts up again. We sit on the bed and just take a moment. And he looks at me and he goes, Mom, we've done it before. We're going to figure this out just like we did before. And I said, you're right. And come to find out, that was a huge part of my learning experience and for my business, where his heart was in great shape. He was training like an Olympic athlete, but he was not supplementing like an Olympic athlete. And he was extremely deficient in electrolytes. And your heart is an electric muscle, electric pump. Long story short, with these experiences, and I have my two daughters, one had asthma, allergies, anemia. She couldn't run around the block. I couldn't get her to get on her bike around the block. And that girl went off to USC and rode for a D1 school. And she's 6 feet tall. My last child, probably the healthiest of them all because I knew the most as she was the youngest, and she had the least amount of vaccinations and the least amount of medications. I don't even think she's ever had an antibiotic. But she had an issue with her comprehension in second grade, and it didn't make sense because she was not ADHD. She wasn't dyslexic. We couldn't quite figure it out. And this was an issue I never had. Learning came easy to me. Learning came easy to my older two kids. And I'm sitting here going, I've done everything right. I did the exact same thing I did with my other two kids. And we figured it out through diet and supplements. And that girl was in all AP honors classes her senior year in high school. And she's off to Boston University to row for their team as well. So my point in telling you all of this is how old you are. Maybe you're 50, maybe you're 60, and you are extremely successful, but your health is dwindling quickly. Menopausal symptoms, just libido, testosterone's in the tank, and you don't feel good. You're thinking, no, this is the way it's supposed to be, I guess. I'm going to just succumb to it. No. Every health condition can be reversed. And when your health is in order, it shows up on your paycheck and it shows up with your success in business, because your brain can't work if you don't have the right circulation, the immune system, and the fortitude to move forward mentally, physically, and spiritually. So with that, all that being said, as I was along on my journey, I started this little business out of my house. I had one supplement, and then we added the accelerated gold. Gold is known for IQ and stress and sleep. Then we added in a collagen supplement. Then I learned more about diet and how there are a lot of healthy foods that are actually really poisonous to your body, could be detoxing or tripping up your detox pathways, making you gain unexplained weight, brain fog, water retention, hormonal disruptions, all these things from the healthy green drinks that you're taking in or the healthy vegan diet that you think you're eating. And then I started producing more of the accelerated health products line. And the whole point of these supplements was to improve on other supplements that were out there that were missing the mark. I don't try to perfect something that's already made, that's already a good supplement. And that's why you'll find supplements on my website that are from other brands that I think are good, reputable brands. But if there's room for improvement, that's where I come in. And what we do is we combine the ancient herbal wisdom of Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, which I've learned and really come to appreciate and understand. There's a reason it's been around for thousands of years. We combine those herbs with modern day cutting edge nutraceuticals, all natural, and then we enhance all of our supplements with the scalar frequencies. And what does that mean? That means if for the accelerated thyroid supplement that's meant to help heal and restore thyroid function, it will have scalar frequencies meant to take the energy of the supplement to the thyroid and restore its health and balance out the parathyroid and thyroid function. For the accelerated liver care, which is a liver supplement, those scalar frequencies are meant to open up the meridians for the gallbladder and the liver to take those herbs to that place, know where they are supposed to go, and help detox and restore the liver on top of what the ingredients do. So that's where the missing or special piece comes in from accelerated health products. And what I wanted to do with my company, and it's funny we're having this conversation, Jeffrey, because my son, the one that had leukemia, is now a graduate of college and he's now starting his first job. He knows he wants to be an entrepreneur. He knows he can't work for anyone else. And he's trying to figure it all out. And so we're having a lot of these conversations. And what I've told him is those people that are after the money in business are not going to be successful. It's the people that are passionate about what they're doing, that they are going to be successful. They're going to enjoy their job and the money's going to just flow in. You could talk to me 24/7 about health, and I'm super excited to talk about it. You want to talk to me about insurance? Blech. No, thank you. I have no interest. I cannot go out and do cold calls for something that I'm not passionate about. And with my journey and the experiences I've gone through, I truly believe that God has taken me, given me 5 family members with very different profiles of health to force me to learn about all of these aspects: diet, nutrition, supplements, lifestyle hacks, exercise, too much exercise, too little, how to be productive in your life, where spirituality comes in, but then also to come up with supplements that are geared for what is needed in this time. And it's no mystery that the pandemic changed the world. And with that change, it doesn't matter what political party you're on, what you decided to do during those 4 years, as far as getting the jab or not, we've all been affected, and it's changed the landscape of our bodies. Our livers are under attack. The spike protein has affected our liver. It's caused hypothyroidism in most people, sluggish thyroid. Sluggish thyroid means unexplained weight gain, hair falling out, brain fog, disrupted hormonal imbalances. It has plummeted testosterone in men and women. Menopausal symptoms are worse. PMS symptoms are worse. How do you function in your profession when you have all of these things going on? Chronic disease, cancers have skyrocketed. Fatty liver disease has skyrocketed. And there's a need to get our health back. This is all on top of the fact that our food system has completely been destroyed as well, and we're not eating real food. With all that being said, you could feel extremely successful in your job, extremely, I'm on top of the world. But if you're sluggish and you're reaching for a glass of wine just to wind down because of the stress you're feeling, what's your quality of life? So that's what I want to get people back to, is actually enjoying every minute of the day, not needing that nap at 3 p.m. and not being wired and tired all day and not being able to sleep at night, waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning. There's a reason. So I just spoke a lot, and I'm sure you've got a lot of questions for me.
Oh my goodness, Sarah, so much to unpack, and thank you for sharing that. So let's make sure I'm getting this right. It was really up close and personal for you when your son at the time was diagnosed with leukemia, and you knew, and these are my words, not your words, you knew left to conventional approaches with the doctors, and nothing against doctors, nothing against the medical system. Conventional approaches likely wouldn't have gotten the outcome that you wanted, which was to cure your son. And by the way, Deep Health Nation, this is not medical advice. Everything that we're talking about is just between Sarah and myself, our opinions. As with everything for your health, please check with your doctor or your medical professional before doing anything. So, Sarah, this was put in front of you. You then put together something that worked for your son. And once that happened, I would suspect that other people perhaps heard about this and began to approach you. And you're also saying, hey, if I did this for my son, I could likely do this for other people. And that's how Accelerated Health was born. And what I also heard, and again, Jeffrey, on base, off base, you're combining the latest in science that we have from the West, but also with Eastern practices, from Chinese herbs to the Ayurvedic kind of practice, and you're putting that all into one, into things that actually work with what the body responds to and what the body needs. How am I doing so far?
100%.
Okay, terrific. So it went from there, and then your son had a relapse of a different kind much later on. And once again, you went back into, okay, what's causing this and what's going on? And once again, you solve that. And so it sounds like from what you're doing is really a very unique approach, different way of looking at things, but it's coming from a place of, hey, this is for my family. This isn't just let me start a business and see how I can make $1 zillion. Let me see how I can help my family members and really make a difference with that. And now you've taken that out to others, strangers and others, to really help make a difference for them. And so with all of that, let me ask a couple foundational questions before we go into some specifics, some terms that Deep Health Nation may not be familiar with. So you've talked about scalar and scalar frequencies before. So what is that all about? What should someone know when you mention the word scalar? What does that mean?
It is a big concept. Scalar frequency is the homeostasis of the world's frequency, of the globe, of the earth. So it is putting your body back into homeostasis. I have an article on my website. I can send it to you to put it in the notes to really explain the in-depth scientific backing of scalar frequency. It's been around for years. Nikola Tesla was the discoverer of scalar frequency. And there's a lot of frequency-based medicines, devices out there now. I use the Hiwi device that's on my website. It's sold there, has 60,000 different programs. If you've got a virus, or over this last year, Jeffrey, we mentioned liver. My liver was just completely being hijacked by the spike protein, the shingles, Epstein-Barr, parasites, and then it just wasn't functioning because it was dealing with all that. I'm doing all my supplements, but then I'm also using the Hiwi device because it had frequencies to devitalize things like the shingles and the parasites and all these other things. So there's a lot of frequency technologies out there as well that you can use for health. And there's even stuff for bringing in abundance and getting the cutting edge mentally, cognitively, if you're going into a meeting or you got to kill it on a podcast, that type of thing as well. So I combine frequency-based supplements with frequency-based devices to help. You can't overdo it, or you can't swing the pendulum to the other side. For instance, like, you're not going to get agitated by a frequency that's supposed to give you energy. It's going to take you from being tired to boosting cellular energy, but it's not going to take you like caffeine could to give you the jitters and make you crawl out of your skin. So scalar frequency will bring you back to homeostasis, but it won't take you to the opposite edge.
And Deep Health Nation, if you're hearing this and saying, okay, wow, that's quite the story there, Sarah, Jeffrey, you had me up until that point. Hey, be open-minded. I can't see gravity. I can't touch it, but gravity's there. I can't explain it, but it's there. And so much of what we don't know, just because we don't know it or we can't explain it, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And Sarah, I know with what you're saying, when you talk about the field or quantum physics, we're now starting to catch up with what many of the ancient civilizations have known for eons. Is now beginning to prove out. So Deep Health Nation, have an open mind when we speak about this. And Sarah, speaking of Deep Health Nation, I'm thinking of most of the members in the community who are probably thinking to themselves, Sarah, I don't get it. I go to my doctor, very well respected, has the entire pedigree behind her name or his name. I go for my annual physical and my blood results come back and everything for the most part's okay. And if it's not okay, they just prescribe something and off I go and I'm feeling pretty good. And you know what, maybe not as good as I used to, but that's normal. That's just old age and aging and I'm supposed to expect that. What would you say very high level to that person?
The doctors only have 15 minutes with you. They really don't have the amount of time, and it's not their fault to give you the attention you need. And the second part is the blood tests are only a snapshot. So your blood isn't telling you what's in the tissues. It's not telling you how sensitive your cells are to specific hormones. So Jeffrey, you and I might have the exact same numbers on a blood test, but my cells are much more sensitive to thyroid hormones. So my metabolism is higher than yours. And that goes with insulin resistance. This is the reality, is over 50% of you listening have fatty liver disease. Over 50, and I want to say at least 80% of you have suboptimal metabolisms, suboptimal thyroid health. Your doctor is testing TSH and T4. This is two of the at least 6 hormones that should be tested. They are not testing the important ones. That's like telling me that we have plenty of ingredients to make cookies with pounds and pounds of flour and eggs, but I don't have a spoon or a blender to mix it up or an oven to bake it, right? So how am I going to make cookies with all the flour and the eggs in the world, but there's no conversion? And so my point in saying this is they're not testing the free T3, which is your actual metabolism. They're not testing what's called your reverse T3, which for a lot of the listeners is probably a very high number because it's your stress hormone. Stress shuts down the body. I don't care what you're eating or what you're doing. If you're stressed out, your cortisol's up, you've got the belly fat. And why do you have the belly fat? Because your body doesn't know if you're being chased by a tiger or if you're going into a stressful week for work. And what your body will do is say, hey, I need to put an extra layer around my expensive organs, my gut, my kidneys, my liver in the midsection. I'm going to put some fat on there. So when that tiger comes and attacks me, there's this extra layer and I'm not going to die. And I'm also going to slow down my metabolism because I don't know if I'm hitting a famine or if I'm going into a stressful week at work. And so your body is going to adjust according to survival mechanisms. And with that being said, metabolism shuts down, circulation shuts down, the brain isn't working as well. You're waking up in the middle of the night, the liver is overloaded, you're starting to pack on the pounds, and the wheels start coming off. So when I think of 90% of people out there, we can go into a lot of different protocols for a lot of different ailments, whether it's immune system or weight loss or anxiety and depression. But when you really look at it, I think most people are suffering from a slow thyroid and sluggish liver.
Okay. And we're going to get there, Deep Health Nation. I promise you that. Sarah, one other thing I wanted to bounce by you just before we go into some of the essential things that the Deep Wealth Nation can begin to do to get their sovereign health back, something that's always been theirs, but unknowingly it's been taken away from them. And they've been tricked into thinking they can't control it. It's in the control of other people, which really isn't the case. It's interesting because, and again, this is not a slight against doctors. They are doing the absolute best that they can, and they can only work with the tools that they have and what they've been trained on. I heard you say, though, and couldn't agree more, the doctor's time is limited. So when I go for my annual physical, it may be 15 minutes at best, likely more like 5 minutes. And the other thing is, when they're looking at the blood results, sadly, we've become so out of shape, so unhealthy as a society that a lot of the blood markers, what's a healthy range, it's been changed. So just like we don't want our business compared to every other business out there, hey, compare my business only to the most successful businesses. When it comes to our blood markers, that's not the case. And you can correct me if I'm off base with this. It's for the general population, but we don't want to be like the general population because they're generally speaking sick
Yeah.
and unhealthy. So with that foundation put to the side now, and we've put that out there and these different concepts like scalar frequencies and your ability to blend the East with the West for things that work and working with other kinds of products or protocols that also get results. If we were to pick, and we're talking about this offline, I asked the question, Deep Health Nation, I said, hey, Sarah, is it good old Pareto's Law, the 80-20 principle, where maybe 20%, maybe even 10% of a health issue is creating 80, 90% or higher of our health challenges, otherwise known as opportunities? What would that be? And Sarah, your answer for the Deep Wealth Nation would be, if we focus on this one area, this could really begin to unlock feeling great again and to begin to bring back our health. What will that be for you?
It would be thyroid because 96% of the United States is deficient in iodine.
Okay.
And iodine is needed for T4 and T3, your thyroid hormones. That is the 3 and 4 molecules of iodine. So, how do you have thyroid hormones without the molecule that makes up the thyroid hormone? Iodine deficiency is the number one cause of depression. It's the number one cause of mitochondrial failure. Your mitochondria are the powerhouses of every cell in the body. Without your mitochondria, you die. With all of these longevity experts and anti-aging protocols, their goal is to improve mitochondria. The number one way to do it is iodine. And so iodine also is helping that brain. And I have people just on the iodine, just on the accelerating iodine, saying, oh my gosh, I feel like I can get off my antidepressant. I'm feeling better. My focus is better. All of these things are better. Iodine not only increases that ATP inside the cell, inside the mitochondria of every cell in the body. It feeds your thyroid, boosts your metabolism, boosts fat oxidation. It cleanses the liver. It helps with the conversion of the inactive thyroid hormone T4 into the active thyroid hormone T3. It helps balance the hormones. Estrogen dominance helps with the testosterone and progesterone and estrogen balance there. It helps detox all of the cells of the halogens, the bromide, chlorine, fluorine. It helps with the heavy metal detox. All of these things, it's important for your hair growth. It's important for you in the gym. You can't build muscle or have muscle protein synthesis without iodine. And the problem is there are so many bad iodines out there. If you have an adverse reaction, you're reacting to the toxic materials that come with that iodine supplement. Accelerating iodine is the only iodine that is 100% pure, untouched by modern man from South America, and it is paired with organic, non-GMO, 200 proof alcohol. Why is that important? If it's paired with glycerin or a less proof of an alcohol or a GMO based alcohol, then that will slow down the bioavailability to all of the cells, and you're introducing new toxins to the cells. So iodine's number one for the thyroid, but then number two, you pair that with accelerated thyroid restores your thyroid health, but it also balances your adrenals. And you tell me what CEO and what entrepreneur does not have adrenal fatigue, whether it's a real thing or not. You feel it, right? The coffee's not kicking in like it used to, and you're tired and you can't sleep at night. You're wired and tired. So it helps balance the adrenal function. And what people don't know is that the thyroid is the master endocrine gland. That means it controls not just your adrenals and your thyroid and metabolism, it controls your hormones and your gonads and your libido, all of those things. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. If you have no libido, how's your life? And so you've got to have the energy for your life, for your relationships, for your children, for the people, friends and spouses and partners to be able to enjoy. So then you have more energy to go in and put into your business. So accelerated thyroid and accelerated iodine would be the two. But then you want to address the liver. And the liver has been under attack from the food supply, processed foods. If you are eating out of a package, I don't care if it says organic ketogenic protein bar, it is processed food. And they can include ingredients or fillers that might be poisonous to your liver. And your liver's already dealing with the fluoride in the water and the smog from the air and the little GMOs from the food supply that you're taking in. I don't care if you're on an organic diet. I am. I still get hit with toxins. No one is more clean than me. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do all these things, and I still have a ton of toxins in my body. So you want to address your liver health because your liver's got to get some love. It is not meant to deal with the amount of toxics or toxic load that it has in 2025. Our parents' livers did not have this issue. There was no obesity 50 years ago. There was no processed food, and there was not this level of toxins. People just ate food. It wasn't that you were a vegan or a carnivore or a paleo person. You just ate real food. Imagine that. Let's eat real food. And it was pretty much all organic because you didn't have the GMOs and the pesticides like you do today. So all of these toxins, they filled the bucket, and there's a tipping point. The body says, I give up. And that's where you've got to love your liver. I take people through liver cleanses that are super easy. You're not drinking green drinks, you're eating real food. And if you're not ready for a cleanse, just taking the accelerated liver care on a daily basis is going to give you that love to your liver. When I went through this big health crisis this last year with my liver, I started taking the accelerated liver care. We coincidentally had just launched it. Within 2 weeks, my AST and ALT numbers went from 700, which no doctor would have let me out of their office if they saw those numbers, to normal. 2.5 weeks. It was unreal. It actually shocked myself. And without your liver functioning, you cannot metabolize fat. You cannot assimilate protein into your muscles and your hair and your skin and your brain. You can't think. It doesn't matter how much protein you're taking in. If your body can't use it, it means nothing. And then you have all of these other ingredients and foods from processed foods that are backing up your liver as well. So there's so many threats to our bodies now. And I go into it on my website and in my podcast a lot about the things that are causing these unexplained symptoms, skyrocketing diseases, things that your doctors don't even know what to say to you about it, which is unfortunate. And then you feel like you have no control over your health, and not all the money in the world is not going to fix it unless you take your power back and educate yourself.
And Sarah, one of the things that you're sharing with us, which for some of the listeners in Deep Health Nation may be a revelation, it may be a wake-up call for them, just because they're quote unquote, I'm using air quotes here, living the healthy life, they can be doing everything right. If something's not working in our body, in many ways, it doesn't matter. Let me over exaggerate this. I could go to the gym and do the best workout in the world. I can have an incredibly clean kind of diet, eating all of the right foods and the nutrients, and live a fairly clean life. But if I'm not sleeping and I'm only getting a few hours of sleep, then all the other things that I'm going to be doing are negated because the sleep's not there. And that's just one example of many examples. My goodness, it's not just an episode, it can be an entire series of all the things that perhaps aren't working that should be working. But what I'm hearing you say from a very high level, just as a business owner, okay, I don't need to know all the individual key performance indicators, the KPIs. Just tell me the one or two levers in my business that's going to catapult my growth, my profits, allow me to create a market disruption. So on our health side, what I'm hearing you say is two KPIs that we can look at from the health side, or two things, actions, strategies that we can begin to do is the thyroid and the liver.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing you say, if we choose to, we can do a deep dive. We can do all the research and all the reading and go through the studies, or we can put that aside, put some faith and trust in you that you've already done that, and try and experiment with what you've done for the thyroid and for the liver. By the way, Deep Wealth Nation, everything that Sara has mentioned, or most of the things that Sara has mentioned before this podcast, I went on Accelerated Health and I purchased the products, and I've been the guinea pig to be doing this. And I've got to tell you, I've noticed the results and I've seen the difference with that. And what Sara's saying, it's going to be different individual to individual, but there's a lot there to be said. And Sara, really, you're providing not a shortcut in the sense that it's cutting some corners and it's pay me now or pay me later, but you're going to pay. It's actually, you took the long way to do this, but you've made it easier for us because you've been on this journey a lot longer than most other people. That if we look at the thyroid, we look at the liver, we get those two in check into the elite optimal health areas, what they should be, not for the general public, but for healthy, optimal people, the other areas in our life are going to begin to click. How am I doing with that?
100%. And that was one thing that my mentor said to me that first day when I walked into his office. He said, Sara, we're not going to worry about the way you feel yet and mentally. We need to build your foundation. So my goal is to give you a couple key supplements so that your energy increases, so that then you say to yourself, wait a second, I can do this now. Like I can actually follow a diet. I can actually go to the gym every day or 4 days a week, or what your goal is. Because if you don't have the energy and you're exhausted at the cellular level, it's not about willpower, people. It's your body is not working for you. And the goal is to get your body working for you so then you have the mental fortitude to move forward. And guess what else feels better and is more successful when you are able to actually go to the gym and get on a better sleep schedule and make better choices with your diet? Your work productivity. And we haven't even gotten into the nootropics and what you can take to get that boost in brain so that you actually outperform even your optimal self naturally. There are a couple things that I take on a daily basis, and that's the accelerated cognoblast and accelerated methylene blue and Jeffrey. Factually, I type faster when I take those. And I have it's very funny because I've got two nephews that have been on Ritalin all growing up. And it just kills me. And now they're in their 20 somethings and they're in the workforce. And I said to one of them, I said, can I give you the Cognoblast? Can you just try it and swap out your Ritalin? He said, absolutely. So he comes back to me, goes, Sara, I love the way it makes me feel. It gives me that steady energy through 6 p.m. at night, and it doesn't give me the side effects from the Ritalin. And he's sold. And to get someone from going on a hard drug to that and saying they're actually performing better it says a lot. But these supplements are natural and they actually are preventing cognitive decline in dementia and Alzheimer's. So you're not just helping your short-term performance, alleviating anxiety and depression, but you're actually increasing your mental health long term so that when you have all the money in the bank in your 60s and your 70s, you can actually enjoy it. There's so many people that work all their life and they work to only be able to enjoy their financial fortitude when their body doesn't work and they have no energy. And I always think about my dad. He can't do a lot of the activities he used to do. He has all the money in the world, doesn't matter. But he has legs that don't work. So It's you want to be able to have that quality of life those last years in your life so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor from the earlier years.
And Sarah, as you're talking about that, you're actually taking me back to the Deep Wealth 9 step roadmap. There's actually a 10th step. The 10th step is when you sell your business, and to your point, you're now onto your post exit life. What we do in our mastery program, we actually start at the very end and then pull it back to the beginning. And that is okay, you've sold the business. You didn't get any deal. You got the best absolute deal. It's everything you could have dreamed on and even more than that. What are you doing with your life? What does that look like? And that's where we start. And to your point, if I can't get out of the chair or it hurts for me to move, how are you going to travel the world? Or how are you going to be, God willing, with your grandchildren or even great grandchildren?
Yeah.
What's the point of all that with all the money, all the success, all the accolades, all the zeros in the bank? For what? You're not enjoying life. And
Yeah.
even before that, if I don't have the brain cognition, if I don't have the energy, how am I going to make those life-changing decisions? Forget about growing a business. What about selling the business? I have that pressure. I have really important strategic decisions to make of what to do, what to not do. How can I make that if I'm just not feeling well, if I'm not thinking properly? It's a recipe for disaster. And what we're talking about here, it's very high level. It's the tip of the iceberg, as the saying goes, in terms of what you can do. But that said, let me ask you this, and I would love to hear your thoughts for the benefit of Deep Wealth Nation, because I know if I'm being cynical, I'm going to be saying, okay, Sarah, if this is so good, your scalar frequencies and these other cognition things that you have, why aren't I hearing about this? Why isn't my doctor shouting off the top of the roof why I should be doing this? And the drug companies aren't putting this out there for everyone to know about. And I'm going to answer that. And you can say, Jeffrey, on base or off base, there's no money in it for the pharmaceuticals because it can't be patented. And a lot of times it's regular ingredients, quote unquote, regular, not really regular, but it's ingredients that can't be patented. There's very low margins in it, and there's nothing proprietary with that. And with that in mind, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But also, since you are manufacturing and producing different supplements and minerals and vitamins, how they're not all the same. So just because I walk into my favorite big box store and I see a particular supplement that's on super sale, it's incredibly inexpensive, why I may be wasting my money, why I'm probably better off not spending a penny on that and going for broke and getting a quality company such as yours, Accelerated Health, when it comes to supplements. What's going on behind the scenes?
Number one, we are one of the fastest growing supplement companies in the country. We've been voted the number one most innovative supplement brand 4 years in a row. So we are coming on the map. Number two is things like our number one supplement, Accelerated Silver. I cannot say the word silver on YouTube. Why? Because silver is known to devitalize that virus during the pandemic. So if you go to the Google, YouTube guidelines, you are not allowed to speak of silver. And I've had different podcasts actually taken down and strikes against it. And it's not just me, it's any company or any podcast that will name that supplement. So you read between the lines in that one. So there's no money in it. If the whole reason that there was an emergency vaccine, in order for it to be an emergency vaccine, there cannot be alternative remedies. If there's an alternative, then they legally cannot have an emergency vaccine. So I won't say any more there, but you read between the lines on that one. And then number three, when you go to the supplement brands, there are fillers they're not telling you about. There's mold and bacteria counts in all of these supplements that are allowed that could be tripping up your sinus cavities and histamine response, inflammation. And you're sitting there going, wait, I'm taking the supplement for my allergies and it's actually making my allergies worse because it's got a high bacteria count in it. Or the supplement doesn't even have what it says it has in it. Or you're buying a fraudulent bottle off of Amazon or Walmart that is pretending to be that brand name that you're looking for. The supplement industry, unfortunately, is damaged. There's a lot of fraudulent products out there. You don't know what you're getting. Like you mentioned, the proprietary blend. What we do with our supplements, for instance, let's take the liver care. You go to the store and you get another liver supplement. They could sprinkle in what we call fairy dust with an herb called milk thistles known to help with the liver. They're just putting a little bit in there so that they can put it on the label. And it could be coming from dried, burnt leaves that do nothing for your body, have no what we call life force in Chinese medicine. What we do is we get that milk thistle and we have a concentration of 10 to 1, meaning we're packing 10 pounds of that herb into 1 pound of a supplement. We're combining it with 12 other herbs that work synergistically together to increase the efficacy of the supplement to the maximum amount, depending on the different ratios of the different herbs in the supplement, and then enhancing it with scalar frequency. Other brands are just sprinkling it in if they're even putting it in there. And they may unknowingly be putting in ingredients that could be backing up the liver. Things like glutathione, NAC, DIM, dandelion. Those are all herbs that you're probably sitting there going, oh, I've heard of that. That's supposed to be good for me. That could actually back up your liver. And that's where Accelerated Health Products has come in, where we have taken the initiative to make sure that none of our ingredients could trip up your genetic disposition or backing up your liver or clogging your detox pathways.
And Sarah, what's amazing about that, in Deep Wealth Nation, chances are better than great that whatever fad is out there that you're hearing about, eat this, drink that, it's going to take your health to the next level. You're probably hurting yourself. You don't even understand why or even realize what's going on behind the scenes. And what we're hearing from you, Sarah, is it's not all the same. Just because something's on a label, number one, is it really there? And is it toxic? Is it in the right amount? And the more I begin to learn, the more I realize I don't really know anything. The human body is so complex. It's an entire system. It's not take this one herb over here and everything's going to be fine. That one herb or that supplement or that vitamin or that drink or that food item, it's interacting with the entire system. And if something's out of check, then my goodness, there are some problems ahead. In Deep Wealth Nation, we're going to have all this in the show notes, but I'm going to encourage you to reach out to Sarah. She has probably gotten sick of my emails. She's been very polite and kind and answering email after email. Sarah, what about this? Or what about that? Or, hey, I thought about this, or I'm seeing this. She's been incredible to help fine tune what's going on there. So big picture wise, Sarah, before we go into wrap up mode, if we take a step back, what I've heard from you is there are things we just don't understand in Western medicine, Western science that can really help us. In your journey with some family members, with your son and other family members who had what would be considered fatal kinds of diseases and symptoms, you were able to reverse and get them onto the right path using unconventional approaches, but it worked. And then based on that, you've taken that through Accelerated Health to begin to help other people. We spoke about it. I heard you say stats. It's almost 100% of people have fatty liver disease or some kind of metabolic disease. It's crazy what's out there, but as hard charging entrepreneurs, if we focused on two areas, the thyroid and the liver, and there's more, but to begin there as our health KPIs to see what's going on and then begin to treat that, we're going to be well on our way to begin to feel better, think better, get the energy back, the clarity, the focus, grow the business, have our sovereign health back, and even take the business to the next level. And you've been sharing how not all supplement companies are the same. In fact, they're not. I would imagine, Sarah, not to get into geopolitical issues here, with some of the tariffs that are now out there, I would imagine that some of the source ingredients coming in are even more expensive than they were before. And if I'm a company that's there to make profits, if I'm a for-profit company, which most businesses are, there's probably even more things behind the scenes that we don't know about that's going on to keep the prices down because the costs have gone up. So it's not a great story. So buyer beware when you're purchasing your supplements to make sure it's from a quality company like Accelerated Health. What I'm also hearing you say is it has to be tested. All these different ingredients, is it in harmony with all of the other body systems of what's going on? So having something in isolation in and of itself, so what? It's like saying I can live on synthetic vitamin C. I don't need to have real orange. That's okay. I'm going to put that off to the side. But look what I'm missing with the actual orange as opposed to the synthetic vitamin C, that there's really more to it. And starting there, there's a lot there, but I know we didn't want to have everyone drink from a fire hose, and I suspect they have been. But the thyroid, the liver, and accelerated health protocols and products and supplements would be a terrific starting point. How am I doing with that before we start going into wrap up mode?
100% great. When I created this business, I realized that most people in my business give a protocol of supplements and then they never talk to the customer again. And then the customer is sitting there with a bucket of supplements. They have some side effect or an adverse reaction day two, and they give up or they get confused and they say, I'm a quitter and I feel bad about myself and I'm not going to go forward. My goal with my business is not just providing the supplements, but to provide the coaching and the education so that you take your power back. You are educated. You understand the why am I putting this pill in my mouth? Why am I choosing to have wild animal protein instead of a chicken burger? Why am I going to start to go to sleep at the same time at night and wake up at the same time in the morning? And I did that through my podcast. I have 3 podcasts a week, through my group coaching on Telegram. It's free. It's uncensored. You can ask questions. I post every single day. You would wonder when I sleep because that's how passionate I am about my job. I'm providing all of this information so that you have all of it at your fingertips when you have a question. Like, oh my gosh, I'm having GERD. What do I do for GERD? Oh my gosh, I'm constipated. I haven't gone to the bathroom in 2 days. What do I take for that? What do I eat? And Sarah's got a podcast or 2 and a couple articles on that topic. Sometimes you don't even need to ask me the question. And you can also post in the group and help your fellow group members out and just egg each other on and be cheerleaders of each other, which is amazing because you need that like-minded group to keep motivated and stay moving forward. My goal is to give you your power back so you're not feeling lost in this world of health. You might have the wealth all taken care of and dialed in, but it means nothing if you haven't done the same for your health.
Absolutely. And I would even take it a step further, Sarah. Even if you have the wealth, and if wealth is your goal, good on you. You're not as wealthy as you should be or could be because you don't have the health. It's really health is a foundation, everything else from there. And Deep Health Nation, I got to tell you, when you start going down this rabbit hole, you're going to get looks from your family members like I have of, wow, Jeffrey, you're just weird. You're a freak with what you're doing and everything else out there. But what I tell myself is, hey, this is an investment. This is my health portfolio. I'm investing in this now, so I'll have a very high return on investment later, even if it means I'm not partaking in certain activities or foods or who knows what that everyone else is doing because I know it's not going to be healthy for me. And Sarah, my goodness, there's so much that you can share with us of what you're doing personally. We're starting to bump up against some time, but you've given some snippets there, and perhaps we can have you back on and talk about, hey, what does a day in the life of Sarah look like from when you get up to when you go to sleep and how you sleep and everything else that's out there. Before we go to the wrap up mode, one final question for you. Is there a question that I haven't asked, and I know there's many, is there a topic we haven't yet covered or even a message or theme that you'd like to get out to the Deep Health Nation before we go into wrap up mode?
I would just say, ask yourself, is what I'm doing working? Because if it's not working, then you got to pivot. And my 2 words that I've taught my children, whether we're talking about health or wealth or school or sport or friendships or what have you, is number 1, pivot, be able to pivot. During the pandemic, all of you business-minded people had to pivot, right? And if you didn't, you probably lost your business. Number 2 is perseverance and putting one foot in front of the other. You don't know what it's going to look like. You just know that next step. Put one foot in front of the other and keep asking questions. Don't be the smartest person in the room. You're not going to learn. You've got to surround yourself by people that you want to become. And I tell my children that every single day. So Those are my little tips that I live by, and God is my guide. That's what I live for. And so every moment of every day is intentional in my life. As I'm moving forward and intentional about becoming a better version of myself, I'm also trying to enjoy the present and live with extreme gratitude for what I have at the moment.
Absolutely. The two G words, gratitude and God. And I know Deep Wealth Nation, some of you, when you hear the word God, it throws you off. And speaking as a man of faith and a man of God myself, hey, I get that. And if it makes you more comfortable, universe or something else other than God, that's fine. But there's a whole other component there with prayer and faith. And Sarah, we didn't have a chance to get into that, but it's something for all of us to think about. And there's so much there that's going on with that, even and including some of the God-given, and I use that word deliberately, God-given cures that have been given to us naturally of what we can do to help us. So that said, let's go into wrap-up mode. And it's a tradition here on the Deep Wealth Podcast where I have the privilege and honor for every guest to ask the same question. It's a fun question. So Sarah, when you think of the movie Back to the Future, you have that magical DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. So imagine now it's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window, and Sarah, here's the fun part. Curbside, it's the DeLorean car. The door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in, which you do. And you're now going to go to any point in your life. Sarah, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be, what would you tell your younger self in terms of life wisdom or life lessons? Or, hey, Sarah, do this, but don't do that. What would it sound like?
I would have gone to my 10, 11-year-old self and said, you're good enough, and speak up. Use your voice. Because I was quiet, I was the people pleaser, and now I realize what I'm able to do with my voice. And I wish I had learned that a long time ago. And I'd want to just give her a hug and just tell her she's okay.
That is absolutely terrific. Hey, you're good enough. Use your voice. Be heard. Be seen. You have a gift. Take it to the world. And don't we all? It's such a tragic shame where we don't find our God-given gift that's so unique just to us that we can take it to the world. But Sarah, you clearly have with what you're doing, and your journey didn't start out so easy. You persevered. You've made a difference, and now you're making a huge difference out there for the rest of the world. And Sarah, we're going to have all this in the show notes, but that said, if somebody has a question, they want to speak with you or the team, they have, hey, I want to take my health from here to there, where would be the best place to begin to learn about this or speak with you online?
SaraBantaHealth.com is my website. You can find my store there. You can go into the chat and ask your questions. There's a form to ask for a personalized protocol right there as well, and links to my podcast. But you search up Sara Banta, you'll find me. It's not difficult. I've got Accelerated Health with Sara Banta is my podcast 3 times a week. It's on every platform. So yeah, I'd love to help you out. I'd love to connect with you and see where we can take your health.
And Deep Wealth Nation, take Sarah up on her offer. All that's going to be in the show notes. It's a point and click. It doesn't get any better. I've personally tried some of these products and supplements and regimes and protocols that Sarah's been talking about, and I've seen a difference. And I really appreciate what you're doing, Sarah. And you are prolific in terms of your articles, your podcasts, and what you're doing out there. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's official. It's a wrap. Congratulations. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribe, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. One business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank. It's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.